Good morning. This is Dr. Miranda, and taking the opportunity of my morning commute to have an informal chat about how to present uncertainties. And there are interesting things that we can do whenever we are presenting uncertainties, particularly when it comes to presenting uncertainties to investors. The first thing is that let's make sure that we have a very solid projections, okay? And it's very important that the numbers that we use to convey the information to the investors, that they are accurate, that they are solid, and that we really understand what the data is saying. We need to become very familiar with the information. Have you ever come across a classroom setting and you feel it? There is that sense that the teacher really didn't prepare himself or herself, that they really don't understand the information deep down in their bones, deep down in their minds. Well, investors pick that up really quick. So if we don't understand the data that we're seeing, if we don't immerse ourselves in that data, if we don't look at the narrative, because remember, numbers are very interesting things. Numbers aren't simply quantitative artifacts. Numbers tell you a narrative. It tells you a story. So you have to become a master storyteller whenever you are presenting this data to the investor. Really important to get that down, to understand intrinsically what that data is telling you, right? We need to really get a feel for the data. Become familiar with that data. I'm not talking about becoming one with the data in the sense of mysticism, but I'm really so that whenever you sit down with the investor, that there is a coherent understanding of what that data is going to lead, okay? Because you can have the best data, but if you don't really become familiar with that data, we can really transmit uncertainty just by not truly understanding what that data is saying. And again, investors can pick up on that really quick, okay? The other one is, even if the data has some uncertainty in it, and believe me, most data sets will, because data is not perfect. Now, we are getting to the point where projections are getting to be pretty solid, and that's because of the advent of big data, of analytics software that we have, and capabilities of intuitive AIs and quantum computing. Now you say, no, you're going a little bit sci-fi here, Prof. But that's the reality that we're living in today. The sci-fi of yesterday is the scientific reality of today. And so we have amazing statistical software. We have amazing quantitative tools that, and now through blockchain and through AI, emerging AI, and also, again, quantum computing and big data analytics, the projections are going to get more accurate. However, it is important to understand that there will be errors. Why? Because behind the data, there is always a human component, and we poor human saps. We are flawed, right? And here's another thing. No computer. It doesn't matter if they came up with a huge AI one day that, this AI is hugely intelligent, but no AI will have the gut feeling instinct that a human has, right? But no AI can even account for external variables, qualitative variables, a war, a pestilence, a plague, a zombie apocalypse, meteorite falling out of the sky, stock market exploding. We don't have any, we just, there's not enough software in the world that can really account for these things, okay? So projections will not be perfect. There is an imperfection to them, okay? Now, with that in mind, there are some things that we can use in order to I think, present uncertainty to the investor in a more professional way. First of all, make sure that we are using a very powerful presentation. It's very important to use graphs, right? What do graphs do? They paint a picture. How many of you love pictures? I got this picture at home. It is so beautiful. is like this beautiful scene at an old English, small town, and it has the bicycles and it has the little restaurants. Just a gorgeous, beautiful painting, and I love to just sit there, and sometimes it almost feels like I'm walking inside of that cafe. That's how beautiful I think it is. But what really appeals to me is that it's a beautiful presentation, right? And when I'm having a tough day, I can sit there and just think about that situation, that beautiful scenery. There's an emergency somewhere. Anyways, there's this beautiful scenery. It's communicating a story. I often think about the time period. It looks like it was a pre-World War II scenario, right? So that's what you want, to project through graphs and through a presentation. First, that it's professional, that it doesn't have grammar issues. Look, investors will pick up on little stuff, and sometimes even a grammar mistake can ruin the deal, right? Why should I invest in you if you can even bother to correct the grammar on your slides? You see, it's the little details that matter, right? So we want to have a presentation that is professional, that it's beautiful, it tells a story, right? The other one, make sure that you use graphs, okay? Most people are not analytical by nature, right? Most people are visual. Now, there are some people who love numbers. You can throw numbers at them all day long, throw them spreadsheets, throw them quantitative analysis. They are in heaven. This is heaven for them. But there are folks who don't like these things. They can't grasp. But if you put it in a graph, and today in Excel, a plug-in there for Microsoft, right? In Excel, you have beautiful graphing tools, just gorgeous. And they do most of it for you, right? And you can use colors, you can use different schemes, you can use 3D. Believe me, a beautiful professional presentation, even if the information is not all that great, even if there's uncertainty, there is a calming effect. There's a professionalism, right? There's projected to the investor, and he or she will be, somewhat put at ease. The other one is, don't cover the boo-boos, don't cover the bad news if there is bad news. There are investors who thrive on bad news. There are investors who thrive on challenges. There are investors who have made bukudos of money because they saw a challenging opportunity and they went for it. Okay, but also you want to say things like, look, it appears that for the first 2 quarters, the news is bad, right? Or there are some challenges. However, look at the possibilities of 3rd quarter. Look at 4th quarter. And if you've done your homework, look at the historical. Look at where we were, and look at almost the same pattern. And some presenters are so good, and they do their due diligence. They will look at corresponding industries about the same company, services or products, and they will compare, and they will include that in the presentation. What will that do? Well, one is you could lose the deal, right? The investor may say, hey, too much risk for now. I don't have that risk appetite. I'm going to pass on it, okay? That could happen. However, there's another thing that could happen, is that you may lose the deal, right? You may not close on it, or your project may not proceed at that point. However, either the manager or the executive or the investor will remember that you did your due diligence, that you were professional, that everything was ship-shape, the information looked good, okay? And that you were honest, you were transparent, okay? When asked, you told the truth, right? And you can always tell the truth in a very positive way, even if it's bad news. They'll come back to you later. They'll remember you. And if they want, if it's an investor, say, hey, I don't have that risk appetite, but guess what? My partner, he has the appetite for this. He's looking for this. It may not look great, but he's the right person for that. Or he may say, let me sit on it, and they may come back to you a year or so from now. So presenting uncertainties can be done, but it has to be done in a professional way, in a competent way, in a way that projects professionalism, in a way that projects understanding of the data, understanding of the subject matter. Also, I know this is getting picky, but for crying out loud, make sure that you are dressed professionally whenever you are giving this presentation, okay? Nothing worse than to dress unprofessionally and to go to a meeting, and you may have beautiful data, you may have awesome data, you may have a very polished presentation, but if we are not polished ourselves, boom, it's not gonna happen. The deal will fall through. Anyways, thank you very much for staying with me here for this very highly informal chat, and I do hope that you have a beautiful day.